In the quiet village of Willowbrook, where the sun dipped low behind rolling hills each evening, lived a man named Elias. He owned the largest farm in the area, with fields that stretched like golden seas under the sky. But Elias wasn't content. His eyes always wandered to his neighbor's smaller plot, owned by a kind widow named Clara and her young son, Timmy. One crisp morning, as the birds chirped their wake-up songs, Elias stood at his fence, staring across at Clara's land. "Look at that," he muttered to himself. "Her apples are redder than mine this year. How does she do it? Must be some trick." Just then Clara came out, basket in hand, picking the ripe fruits. Timmy trailed behind her, laughing as he chased a butterfly. "Good morning, Elias," Clara called out, waving cheerfully. "The harvest is bountiful this season, isn't it? Would you like some of these apples? We've got more than we can eat." Elias narrowed his eyes. A chance to take something for nothing? But no, he thought, why settle for a few when I could have the whole orchard? "No thanks, Clara," he replied with a forced smile. "I've got plenty of my own. But say, your fence looks a bit wobbly there. Might need fixing before the winds come." Clara nodded, wiping her brow. "You're right. Timmy and I will get to it soon. Thanks for the notice." As they walked away, Elias chuckled under his breath. "Fools. If that fence falls, maybe a bit of her land becomes mine." That afternoon, while Clara and Timmy worked in their garden, a stray cow from Elias's herd wandered over, munching on Clara's fresh vegetables. Timmy spotted it first. "Mom, look. Mr. Elias's cow is eating our carrots." Clara hurried over, gently shooing the animal back. She called out to Elias, who was pretending to fix his barn nearby. "Elias, your cow got loose again. No harm done, but maybe tie her up tighter." Elias sauntered over, acting surprised. "Oh dear me. Sorry about that. But Clara, if you shared some of your water from that stream, my animals wouldn't stray so much. It's drier on my side." Here was his first real chance. Clara could have asked for help in return, or offered kindness to build goodwill. But Elias saw only opportunity. Clara tilted her head. "The stream runs through both our lands, Elias. You're welcome to it. But if you need help digging a better trough, Timmy and I could lend a hand after supper." Elias waved her off. "No need. I've got it handled." Inside, he seethed. Share? Never. He'd find a way to divert that stream entirely to his fields. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in oranges and pinks, Elias plotted in his cozy kitchen, sipping tea by the fire. "If I dam up the stream just a little upstream, her crops will wither, and she'll have to sell cheap. To me, of course." But outside, unknown to him, a soft whisper rustled through the fields, like the wind carrying secrets. The old villagers spoke of the land having a spirit, one that watched over those who respected it. Elias dismissed such tales as nonsense. The next day brought rain, turning the paths muddy. Clara and Timmy struggled with their cart, stuck in the sludge while heading to market with their goods. "Elias," Timmy shouted, spotting him on his porch. "Can you help push our cart? It's heavy with apples." Elias stepped out, umbrella in hand. This was his second chance. A simple act of neighborly help could change everything. But greed whispered louder. "Why should I get muddy for them? Let them struggle. Maybe they'll tire and leave the village." "Sorry, lad," Elias yelled back. "My back's acting up today. You'll manage." Clara sighed but smiled at her son. "Come on, Timmy. We'll do it together. 1-2 push." They freed the cart, laughing through the effort, while Elias watched from afar, his heart hardening like stone. That night, as stars twinkled above, Elias dreamed of vast riches, his farm swallowing the whole village. But in the dream, the fields whispered warnings he couldn't quite hear. Days turned to weeks, and Elias's greed grew. He started spreading rumors in the village tavern. "Clara's land is cursed," he'd say to the barkeep. "Her husband died there, Best if someone stronger takes it over." One evening, as fog rolled in from the hills, Clara knocked on Elias's door. She held a pie, steam rising from its crust. "Elias, I baked this for you. Apple pie from our orchard. Maybe we can chat about sharing the workload? The harvest is tough alone." This was his third chance, a gesture of pure kindness, an olive branch. Accept it, and perhaps friendship blooms. But Elias saw only weakness. He took the pie roughly. "Thanks, but I don't need your pity. And as for sharing, my land's mine. Yours should be too, if you can keep it." Clara's eyes saddened. "All right then. Good night, Elias." As she walked away into the mist, Timmy waited at the gate, holding a lantern. "Mom, why is Mr. Elias so mean?" "Hush, dear. Some people forget what's important." Back inside, Elias devoured the pie alone, crumbs falling like forgotten regrets. But as he finished, a strange chill filled the room. The fire flickered oddly, shadows dancing on the walls as if alive. Outside, the whispering fields grew louder, almost like voices calling his name. Elias shook it off, heading to bed. But in the darkness, he heard a faint creak. Was that his barn door opening on its own? He bolted upright, heart pounding. What was out there in the night? Something watching, waiting. And just as sleep claimed him, a twist of wind howled through the cracks, carrying a promise of reckoning. Elias woke with a start, the echo of that strange creak still in his ears. Dawn light crept through the curtains, pale and cold. He rubbed his eyes and looked out the window. The barn door hung open, swinging gently. Nothing moved inside. "Just the wind," he grumbled, pulling on his boots. Nothing more. But as he stepped outside, a strange quiet hung over everything. The birds weren't singing. Even the chickens stayed in their coop, feathers fluffed, eyes wide. Elias walked to the barn and pushed the door wider. Hay bales sat untouched. Tools hung neatly on the wall. Nothing stolen. Nothing broken. Yet something felt wrong. He shook it off and headed to the fields. Today was the day. He had spent the night sketching plans on an old piece of paper. A small dam of rocks and earth, built upstream where the stream curved closest to Clara's land. Divert the water just enough. Let her crops thirst. Watch her panic. Then offer to buy her out for pennies. He worked alone, sweating under the rising sun, stacking stones, packing mud. By midday the stream had slowed to a thin trickle on Clara's side. On his side the water pooled, deep and generous. Elias wiped his brow and smiled. Perfect. Across the fence, Clara stood in her garden, watering can in hand. She looked at the stream, then at Elias. Her face showed confusion, not anger. "Elias," she called softly, "the water's almost gone over here. Did something happen upstream?" Elias shrugged, not meeting her eyes. "Must be the dry spell. Happens sometimes." Clara set the can down. "But the rain last week was plenty, and your fields look greener than ever." Timmy ran up beside her, holding a wilted carrot he'd just pulled from the ground. "Mom, everything's drooping. The carrots are sad." Elias felt a tiny twist in his chest. He pushed it down hard. Clara knelt beside her son. "It's all right, Timmy. We'll carry buckets from the well for a while. It'll be okay." She stood and looked straight at Elias. "If you know something, Elias, please tell me. We can fix this together." This was another moment. A clear chance to confess, to undo the dam, to be the neighbor he once was long ago. Instead, Elias turned his back. "I've got work to do," he said, and walked away. That evening the sky turned an angry purple. Thunder grumbled far off. Elias sat on his porch, watching dark clouds roll in, feeling clever and powerful. Across the way, Clara and Timmy worked by lantern light, carrying water in buckets from the old well. Their steps were slow, tired. Timmy's small shoulders slumped with every trip. Elias watched them until the first fat raindrops fell. Then he went inside, shut the door, and poured himself a glass of cider. The storm came fast. Wind howled. Rain hammered the roof like angry fists. Lightning flashed white, lighting up the fields in sharp, sudden pictures. Elias stood at the window, glass in hand, watching the water rise in his own fields. The dam held. The water stayed where he wanted it. But then, crack. A huge branch snapped off the ancient oak that stood between the two properties. It crashed down, smashing straight through the stone and mud dam Elias had built. Water roared free. It rushed back into the natural channel, stronger than before, swollen by the storm. Elias watched in horror as the flood surged across his own land first, tearing through rows of young corn, ripping up vegetables, swallowing the lower field in muddy brown. "No," he shouted, dropping the glass. It shattered on the floor. He ran outside into the rain, slipping, falling, scrambling toward the broken dam. Lightning flashed again. In that bright moment, he saw Clara and Timmy standing at their fence, soaked, staring at the destruction. Not angry, not gloating, just watching. Elias slipped again, landing hard in the mud. When he looked up, Clara was there, holding out her hand. "Come on," she said over the storm. "You'll catch your death out here." He stared at her hand. For one heartbeat, he almost took it. Then pride burned hotter than fear. "I don't need your help," he snarled, pushing himself up alone. Clara nodded once, sadly. She and Timmy turned back toward their house, disappearing into the dark sheets of rain. Elias stood in the middle of his ruined field, water swirling around his knees. The storm roared on. By morning the rain had stopped. The sun rose weak and pale. Elias walked his land like a man in a nightmare. Half his crops were gone. The soil was thick with silt. The barn had flooded. Sacks of grain sat ruined and sprouting. His prized apple trees leaned at strange angles, roots exposed. He looked across the fence. Clara's land was untouched. The flood had followed the old path, the natural path, the one Elias had tried to steal. It had punished only him. He sank to his knees in the mud. For the first time in years, Elias felt small. That afternoon, villagers came to look. They whispered. They shook their heads. Some offered help. Elias waved them away. "I'm fine," he lied. "Just a setback." But he wasn't fine. Night fell again. Elias sat alone in his cold kitchen, staring at the wall. The whispering fields were louder now. Not wind. Not imagination. Words. Soft. Clear. You were given chances. He froze. 3 times you turned away. He looked around the empty room. No one there. Now the land remembers. Elias stood so fast his chair fell over. He backed against the wall, heart hammering. Outside something moved. A shadow, tall and thin, slipped between the trees near the broken oak. Not animal. Not quite human. Elias grabbed a lantern and ran outside. "Who's there?" he shouted. The shadow paused. Then it spoke, voice like dry leaves scraping stone. "Greed has a price, Elias. And the bill has come due." Elias dropped the lantern. Oil spilled, flame licking the wet grass. The light died. The shadow was gone. But the whispering didn't stop. It grew. And somewhere in the dark, something began walking toward the house. Slow. Deliberate. Coming closer. The footsteps grew louder. Slow. Heavy. Coming straight toward the house. Elias pressed himself against the kitchen wall, breath shallow. The lantern lay broken outside. Moonlight slipped through the window in thin silver blades, cutting across the floor. The footsteps stopped. Right at the door. Then came a soft knock. Not angry. Not loud. Just patient. Elias's heart thundered so hard he thought it might break his ribs. Another knock. He forced his legs to move. 1 step. 2. He reached the door and opened it a crack. No one stood there. Only the night. The broken oak. The ruined fields glistening wet under the moon. But the whispering was everywhere now. Inside the walls, inside his head, inside his bones. You were given chances. Elias slammed the door shut and backed away. "Leave me alone," he shouted to the empty room. The voice answered from the shadows behind him. 3 times kindness knocked. 3 times you turned it away. He spun around. Nothing. Just the dying embers in the fireplace. Then the room grew colder. His breath fogged in front of his face. The fire flickered and went out completely. Darkness swallowed everything. Elias stumbled toward the window, hands shaking. Outside, the fields looked different. The ruined corn and flooded earth were gone. In their place stood rows of perfect golden wheat, tall, ripe, swaying gently even though there was no wind. And standing among them was a figure. Tall, thin, made of shadow and moonlight. It raised one hand and pointed. Not at Elias. At Clara's house. The lights were still on. Warm. Golden. A small silhouette moved behind the curtains. Timmy, probably getting ready for bed. Clara's shadow appeared beside him, bending to tuck him in. Elias watched, chest tight. The shadow figure spoke again, voice soft as falling leaves. "She still has light. You have only darkness." The golden wheat began to fade. The ruined fields returned. The mud. The broken stalks. The emptiness. Elias sank to the floor. For the first time in years, tears burned his eyes. "I didn't mean," he whispered. "I just wanted more." The voice answered gently. "More is never enough when kindness is forgotten." Silence fell. Deep. Heavy. Then the shadow at the window moved closer. Elias looked up. The figure was no longer shadow. It was the old oak itself, twisted branches for arms, bark for skin, leaves rustling like quiet laughter. It leaned down until its face was level with the window. "One last chance," it whispered. "Not for you. For them." The branches reached through the glass. Impossible, but they did, and dropped something small and shining onto the windowsill. A single red apple. Perfect. Ripe. From Clara's orchard. The oak straightened, leaves trembling once, then was still. The room warmed. The fire in the hearth sparked back to life. Moonlight softened. Elias stared at the apple. He knew what he had to do. Morning came slow and gentle. Mist lay over the fields like a soft blanket. The village woke quietly. Elias stepped outside, boots crunching on wet grass. He carried a basket. Inside it, every scrap of food he had left, bread, cheese, jars of honey, and that one perfect apple on top. He walked to the fence. Clara was already outside, sweeping the porch. Timmy sat on the steps, kicking his feet, watching the sunrise paint the sky pink. Clara looked up. She didn't speak at first, just watched him. Elias cleared his throat. His voice came out rough. I broke the stream. I built the dam. I wanted your land. I wanted everything. Timmy's eyes grew wide. Clara set the broom aside. She walked to the fence slowly. Elias kept talking, words tumbling out like water finally breaking free. I was wrong. Every time you offered help, every time you smiled, every time you brought pie, I turned away. 3 times. And the land remembered. He lifted the basket over the fence. This is all I have left. Please, take it. For Timmy. For you. I'm sorry. Silence stretched between them. Then Clara reached out and took the basket. She looked inside, saw the apple. Her eyes softened. Elias, she said quietly, thank you. She didn't say it was okay. She didn't say he was forgiven. She simply said, thank you. Timmy hopped off the steps and ran to the fence. Mr. Elias, are you okay? You look sad. Elias managed a small, crooked smile. I was Timmy, but maybe I'm learning. Clara looked at the ruined fields behind him. We'll help, she said. Tomorrow, we'll bring seeds. We'll bring water. We'll plan again. Together. Elias nodded. His throat was too tight for words. As the sun climbed higher, the 3 of them stood at the fence, watching the mist burn away. The whispering fields were quiet now. Not gone. Just resting. That evening Elias sat on his porch alone, watching the stars come out one by one. He thought about the apple, about the oak, about 3 chances he had wasted, and one he had finally taken. And as the night settled soft around him, he made a quiet promise to himself. Never again would he turn kindness away. Never again would he let greed grow bigger than his heart. The land listened. And somewhere, deep in the roots of the old oak, a soft rustle answered. Like approval. Like peace. And the village of Willowbrook slept under a blanket of stars, knowing that even the greediest heart can learn, if it chooses to listen. So close your eyes now, little one. Dream of golden fields. Dream of second chances. Dream of kindness that grows stronger than any storm. Good night. And remember, what you give away with an open hand often comes back when you need it most. Sweet dreams. Thank you for listening to this story by Afi Gray. What lesson did it teach you? If you enjoyed this folktale, like, subscribe, share your thoughts in the comments, and join me for more stories from around the world.